Alright. Let me see. There we go. Good morning, everyone. What's up? How you going? My name's Louis Vuitton. Thank you for stopping by. Whew. I'm feeling a little bit bleary-eyed. It was a bit hard to get out of bed this morning. Oh well. Hey, I'm here for you, as always, of course. Louis Vuitton is a river unto the people. And yeah. Give me a sec to just bring up the stream on my phone so I can watch that. However, let me, of course, state that I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which I'm coming to you live from, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and welcome any Indigenous people joining us today. Alright, there we go. So as you may have guessed from the title, today I'm going to be talking to a viewer who disagreed with me on what I believe... Hey, Anarchy, thank you for joining us. Viewer disagreed, I believe, with what was going on in the video I made in the relationship between anarchism and libertarianism. So, oh yeah, anarchism is very pog. Sorry, like I said, I just pretty much woke up. Absolutely. Regardless of how, however, me and this viewer disagree, I know that we have a lot of overlapping values, so I don't know, we might end up agreeing more on things than disagreeing. So yeah. Oh, and let me just see about updating the stream info. So a bunch of stuff has happened that I want to talk about on stream, but like I'm doing this one now. I wanted to stream last night, but I was just too tired. I was just too busy on the weekend because so much has happened. Prince Philip, Alabama, goddamn loyalists in Australia coming out of the woodwork over Prince Philip's death. That's annoying. But hey, I'm gonna stream tonight as well, so I'll save it for then. So, you know, everyone just save that. Everyone save those. Oh, that juicy delight of Prince Philip for tonight. And look, I'll stream on Twitch so we can play music, and you know the song that I want to play. I just woke up too. Also Australian to help me commit time theft. Hey, awesome, mate. We don't have any big Australian left-wing streamers, so thank you for your support. We've got... I mean, there's a few that have, like, a few thousand followers. Rogue Bitch is a good one. I don't know how much she talks about... She tends to focus a little bit more on LGBT stuff. I don't know how... Oh no, she does talk about, like, communism and socialism and fascism and whatnot. But yeah. Yes, sir. Left Bank. Ooh, Left Bank. I've never heard of them. Left Bank. Anti-Podine squid? What? Okay, I've never heard of these people. Let me see. I'll look them up. Left Bank _ How big are they? Okay. Left Bank's got just under 300. Anti-Pod Dean Squid. No. Ugh. They've got 800. Okay, cool. I'm glad to see it. All right, we need more lefty streamers. And hey, anyway, on that note, if you enjoy the stream, hey, no pressure. Get to the content in a minute, but it would mean a lot if you'd support. So follow me on Twitch, subscribe to me on YouTube. I do prepared content over my YouTube channel. I'm still working on it. It won't be out this week. But I'm still working on a video right now for the YouTube channel, which is going to be on the topic of Amazon and its history of union busting. So that's sure going to be fun and certainly topical. Follow me on Twitter and join the Discord through the link down below. And hey, there's also a link to Streamlabs in the description. No pressure, but I did say last week that it looks like I'm going to have to get back in the wage cage. And that's happening now. So, hey, if you've got a couple extra bucks lying around, feel free to toss them my way. I can't really do shoutouts right now, but I have a theory cloud share for a list of all lefty Twitch streamers if you'd like a link. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll bring up that link as well. There's also a Discord that at Australia, I think they're a YouTuber. I don't know if they're just like a guy that hangs out. But there's a Discord that I put together called what was it? Australian Lefty Creators, I think. Oh, cheers. Australian Lefty Creators, where they were trying to compile, I guess, like Australian bread tube creators together just to talk and share ideas. What am I doing? Twitch. Oh, I can barely think. I'm sorry, like I said, I just woke up, so... Alright. We gotta wake up and get ready, alright? I'm supposed to be debating one of my key values. Hot take, Friendly Julius is a shit lib, but he does some okay edgeprop. Yeah, like, my issue with Jordan is, like, I don't care that he's, I don't know, I guess he'd be like a soap dem or something, maybe, he might just be, like, left of center. I don't know, he's got some pretty, I've heard him, like, have some pretty far left takes before. He did a video, on renting, which is really good. And it wasn't like any kind of like housing needs to be decommodified, but it was really good at laying out the really shit aspects of renting and the unfair exploitative system. So for someone who's not that interested in politics, that would be the kind of video that you could show someone and kind of get them involved, because he had he had almost a decommodify housing take in the video, not quite, but pretty far along. But mostly what annoys me about Friendly Geordies is that he has such a large audience, but he's not a 100% politics channel. He'll just, like, you know, make videos on, like, what it's like having woke parents. It's like, mate, you have 300k viewers that you could very easily be pushing towards politics, and this is the kind of content you're making. He's also best buds with Isaac Butterfield, which I feel is just clout chasing on his part. And there's also some kind of weird camaraderie between comedians, regardless of their politics. I know, which seems strange to me. So, honestly, that's my biggest problem with him, because Isaac is an absolute shit cunt. His political content is way better than his comedy, and his political content is bottom tier. Who, Geordie? His political content isn't bottom tier. I don't think I've ever actually seen his comedy. But But nah, like I just said, like the renting one, the renting video was a really good one. Um, I don't know. Hey, I would like to have a conversation with him and maybe talk a little bit about um, getting a bit more of a pro-union stance. That's what I would like to see. Yeah, exactly. Oh, did you mean Isaac Butterfield that his political content is bottom tier? Oh, like Isaac's channel is yeah, a little bit. That's what I mean. Like his it's political content, but it's a very dressed up and well, it's you know like you got to think of his audience. He's trying to make it consumable by an audience that's not super into politics, which makes sense. But here's the thing, like the problem with that, the most of all that I had of Jordan, even more than Isaac Butterfield, is that he's a great place for people, especially young people, to get started with politics. But after that, they have nowhere else to go, so they get a bit of a taste for him, like a bit of taste for progressive ideals. But then there's no other big Australian YouTube content creator or streamer to go after that. They have nowhere else to go is further left. So we've got some streamers and content creators in Australia, but no one that's like really big. No one as big as him. At least no one is on the left, which is a problem. So hey, you all can help out by subscribing to the channel. Friendly George is like the Australian J-Rick. I wonder if I go that far. I don't know. It feels. I don't know. The Juice Media. I don't know. I'm quite cynical. We really need somebody that does this kind of format. Somebody that sits in front of a camera, talks to the chat, has a very live audience. I'm very excited about. Anarchy will never happen unless we get The Walking Dead. Uh-oh. The Anarchy Understander has logged on. Stick around, mate, and maybe you'll learn a thing or two. Yeah, I'm super excited about how the online left looks right now. The problem is that all of these really creative, really engaging, really successful content creators are all American. Maybe Canadian. Unless you're someone like me, who wasn't, when I was like in my late high school years, went looking for political content, unless you're someone like that, you're probably not really going to be exposed to that kind of content. So, we don't really have anyone big in Australia other than Jordan, so depending on, I guess, how much the algorithm pushes you towards politics, you might not really get into it. So while we have all these great figures in the online left, they're a little bit hard to reach for an Australian audience. What we need is a left-wing Australian streamer who can reach this new generation of young people, so they can then be get into them because they're Australian, and then be further radicalized by the Americans. Say, we gotta suck them in. Lol, you need more education on reality, my friend. Scumbag Lord again. There have been over 30 bans and left each. Oh, alright. Damn. My. Communist Buddhist. Friezo. A difficult truth. Canadian populist left. Damn. Government is becoming stronger, not weaker. I know, that's the problem. Banned by commie rats. Oh boy. Hey, Scrub. Is it a Scrub Lord, not Scum Lord? Scrub Lord, do you want to call in, huh? Do you want to debate Anarchy? It's a problem. Absolutely, it'll be solved. Good lord. What's if this... I don't get this can't do attitude among people. It's so boring. Oh, we can't build green energy. We can't build high-speed rail. We can't fix inequality. We can't decentralize the government. We can't spread democracy. What is this can't do attitude? Ridiculous. We built the pyramids. We sent men to the moon. We've cowed disease. Really, I mean, come on. If we can, for the most part, kill disease, we can do a simple thing, like weaken government power. I want a limited government like the founders, but that's a fantasy. Government power, especially economic, is growing stronger every day. Well, my friend, there's very clear steps that we can take to weakening that power. I mean, part of decentralization is accountability. If we can have democratic institutions that can help to keep the government's power in check, and also put an emphasis on decentralization, easy. Okay, get people to give up their stimmy checks for starters. What? What has that got to do with centralized power? Just a quick question. Is that a Harley Quinn art print behind you? No, that is a American Horror Story cult poster. The series itself apparently was rubbish. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it is because the later seasons of American Horror Story have all gone downhill. But I really like the art. And it's double-sided. It has a really cool second side. I wonder if I got a photo of it. I just really love the imagery. My friend, small government doesn't mean less spending. What a boring idea. Here we go. It's all about the money. Well, that's why we need to redistribute. That's why, hey, why don't we get rid of the concept of money entirely? What is the greatest government power? The power to control money and interest rates. That's not the greatest government power. Here's a thumbnail for a video that I did. And here we can see the other side of the American Horror Story poster. I tend to like this one more, but you know, it's double-sided, so change it up. And hey, here's a preview of something I do on my YouTube channel. This is a video I made on critical thinking and the sociological imagination. Fun concepts. So hey, check it out. Oh, fuck. Alright. Small government. I advocate MMT, modern money. Oh, come on, no, don't get into MMT. No, alright? Just get rid of money entirely, alright? Automation. Just, yeah, automation. Get rid of money. Don't need it. We don't need a currency. Easy. I mean, but when you can automate all production, the need for a wage vanishes. The whole point of a wage is that you sell your labor and are paid a wage, and the surplus value goes to the capitalist. So if that process can be automated, why on earth would we need money? Why on earth would we need a wage? MMT is a disaster for inflation and much more government power for that matter. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not so keen. I'm just not sold on the idea. Like, I don't think we need to make like some kind of convoluted money system when we can just get rid of money altogether. We need a currency as a universal exchange medium, but we don't need. Why? Why do we need it as an exchange system? We don't. Why do we need to exchange? There's a ridiculous amount of wealth, and I don't mean currency, resources, that's concentrated in the global north. That could very easily be used to uplift developing countries, the global south, we could very easily have a equality of access standard of living. But hey, capitalism's got to go first. I bet you aren't, which is, hang on, what? Of where this country is at. Yeah, Scrublord, I think you're the only Yank in chat, alright? We're Australian. It doesn't matter, but the USA does have the advantage of the petrodollar and reserve currency status. I mean, technically, the Australian dollar, like, it's... I think technically the Australian currency is still gold. And, this is like, I'm not well versed on these topics. And the dollars and, like, the coins and the notes are, like, a substitute for that? I don't know. Like, this is silly. A needs-based economy isn't going to happen overnight. We need some markets as a transitional phase. That's just luxury items still get commodified to incentivize worker specialization. I don't know if I'm not sold on MMT, though. I'm not sold on MMT as an alternative. So the USA can profligate for quite some time before the House of Cards collapses. Well, my friend, what's going to bring the House of Cards down is going to be climate change. Not the economy. I mean, climate change will bring down the economy. It's certainly going to exacerbate it. That'll be fun. I love living to see the end of the world. Fortunately for the USA, there is not a ready replacement for the dollar just yet. I mean, look, certain selective decommodification, and then we can get rid of it altogether. That's the idea. But hey, you know what has to accompany selective decommodification? Decreasing government power. Democratizing the workforce. More horizontal and vertical accountability. Well, I messaged the viewer. Hasn't responded yet. Oh well, we're having a good talk anyway. See, this is fun. See, like, unless Scrublord starts dropping any slurs, I'm not going to ban him. This is what I love. I love going back and forward with chats. Like, I love it when I have a whole chat full of conservatives, and they're going off their head because I said women's rights. This is what I love, alright? This is what's fun. Decreasing government power and spending. Yes? Is that a trick question? I mean, I used to have a QAnoner that would hang around in my chat. He wasn't, like, he was obviously crazy, but, like, you know, he, was polite. So, you know, we kept him around. If he started saying any dangerous shit, then I would have banned him. But, yeah, it was just all good fun. I generally get banned just from my conservative views. I don't cuss. Oh, okay, that's kind of boring. But why would you want to be a conservative? Conservatism is cringe. And if you're a conservative, who I thought were the guys that are always advocating for small government, why are you saying it's not possible? Aren't you guys supposed to be taking up your guns any day now? To rise up and take on the government? Take back power to the people? Waiting. I may keep you around a bit too. Aww. See? Bonding already. Hello, sir. We're having, a pretty good idea. because I've lived for 58 years and I can see where this is going. Wow. I'm impressed that you found your way onto Twitch. But hey, glad you're here. Will anarchy not lead to oligarchy? Like, what to do if somebody keep necessary inventions such as penicillin, people would flock to him and give him power. Am I wrong? Ah, my friend, we are not doing a anarcho-capitalist stream. This is an anarcho-communist stream, or anarcho-syndicalist, whichever you like. I mean, like, given that we're talking 1,000 years in the future, it doesn't matter too much how bogged down in the details we get. However, we have to draw a pretty far distinction between Ancom and Ancap. Been on Twitch for many years. Right, you've probably been on Twitch longer than I have. I'm pretty new to Twitch. So, Bad Boy Bashimi, to answer your question, absolutely, in an ANCAP society, they would hoard the penicillin. I love those conversations because they're so dumb. They make me, I was going to say something TOS. They make me unhappy, so... Because, yeah, you're right. The idea of, like, hoarding all the resources. I mean, in an ANCAP society, what's to stop, you know, a convoy of Amazon armored vehicles pulling up and a few dozen armored goons jumping out and pointing their guns at you and saying, you now work for Amazon. And if you don't like it, we'll shoot you. Oh, the people can use their guns to fight back against Amazon. Okay. Where do they get the bullets? Or not even, like, where do they get the guns? Amazon bought all the gun manufacturing factories. So if you want a gun, you have to get it from Amazon. And it's okay, let's allow that these guys, before ANCAP motion was passed, they already had their guns. Okay, cool. Where do they get the bullets? Oh, they've already got bullets? Okay, what happens when they run out? Amazon owns all the bullet-making factories. You see what I mean? It's a fancy. Anarcho-communist. Lol, Stalin was really into anarchy. Not really. He was kind of cringe. Stalin, yeah, not a fan. And hey, Scrublord, this will blow your mind. I know. I look like... You won't believe me, but please trust me when I say it. Stalin wasn't a communist. Anarchism without adjectives. I don't really support vanguardism. No, vanguardism is fairly cringe. Although, if the only way that I could see a vanguard working is if the revolutionaries immediately retired from public life. They didn't become the next government. You know, like, give them a medal, give them a pension, give them a public holiday named after them, and then that's it. They can do speaking tours and, you know, like, go around to universities and fire up the youth. But politics, no. Stay out of it. Step aside and let some people who are good at politics, Like, I think Mao himself even said that he was a better revolutionary than he was politician. Which, I mean, is understandable. China is the opposite of anarchy. True! And China isn't communist. Can't do capitalism without property law and can't enforce property law without a state. I mean, an ANCAP would beg to differ. They'd probably just argue that you can enforce it by... They'd either argue you can enforce it by force, or they'd probably argue, like, you know, like it's like some kind of intrinsic right. Which is silly. There may be anarcho-communism in 1,000 years, but not in our lifetime, especially not mine. Yeah, of course. Hey, mate, I'm under no delusion that I will live to see this world. Like, if I can die at the age of 80, having seen unions return to this country, that'll be enough for me. Like, if the sun sets on my life, and at that stage we've got unions back, they've been given back industrial action, I will be happy. I will be content. Because that's really the best that... Well, not the best, but that's a realistic goal for my lifetime. Something beyond that, like, that's when you're getting much more into a stretch. There needs to be a pretty big political shift for something more progressive than that. But hey, like, let's just do unions, alright? We've got 60-odd years. Is there a hierarchy on Twitch? Absolutely. See, at the top you have Twitch Thought Booby Stream. I can't say it, alright. There's absolutely a hierarchy in Twitch, though. On the top of the Twitch hierarchy is men. Demon Mama did a stream a couple of weeks back, might have been a month, where she was challenging the notion that booby streamers were stealing everyone's views. And she looked at the top, like, 200 or 300 Twitch streamers, and they were all men. I don't think Pokimane showed up until, like, I think she was, like, the 180th or something. Maybe. But just, like, all men. It's a myth that booby streamers are taking views. It just doesn't happen. Men still dominate Twitch. Okay, our caller fell asleep. That's alright. Stalin certainly does equal cringe. Stalin wasn't a communist, I'm afraid. Was Trotsky a communist? I'm critical of all the Russians. I don't know if I can exactly say... Oof, kinda, you're wrong. I don't know if I exactly say Trotsky. I can't say confidently if he was a communist or not. I know, he did not implement what you call communism. It's funny that the reality of communism is always different from your idea of communism, but I live in reality. That's just you do also. Well, mate, what is capitalism? We haven't seen a realistic depiction of capitalism. What to do about nationalism is a communist, anarchist world. I come from part of Europe where there will never be a fail of unity and not an communist. I'm a big Yugoslavia fan. Greetings from Serbia. Hey, how you doing? Welcome good to joining us. That's why it has to be a global movement. It can't be... You can't abolish the state in one country. The fact that it's only in one country effectively creates a state. But unions wouldn't be communism. It'd be a step on the road. That's good enough for me. Ego is pretty popular too, don't you think? No, absolutely not. I'm sure, I think maybe, you could watch the Demon Mama VOD. She might not have uploaded it onto YouTube, but there'd actually absolutely be a VOD from that Demon Mama stream. And she goes over it, and it's just not true. This idea that sexy girls are stealing Twitch views. It's just not a thing. Still, the most popular streamers on Twitch, it's just dominated by men. I got introduced to politics through my old union, the ETU back, and I think Tony Abbott or John Howard was taking away my apprenticeship danger pay. Fuck me. Oh, that's why we need unions. Twitch is a free market, more or less. You can watch who you want. I guess. So wait, so we don't have... So communism doesn't work in practice, but capitalism works in practice through Twitch. Let's see. So Pol Pot was your man, or Mal Castro. No, none of them. None of them are communists. Capitalism is dying in the USA. I don't know. I don't think so. People are doing pretty well. Just the bottom half's not doing well. Alright. Alright, let's see about getting this caller in at some time. See if they're ready. Capitalism has been the greatest wealth creator in human history. I agree. But we can do better. Maybe, just maybe, there is no perfect depiction of state or free capitalism. You will always need a state and you always need entrepreneurs. The two aren't mutually exclusive. We'll always have entrepreneurs, but a state? Oof, cringe. What kind of baby mindset is that? We need a state. Ugh. No thanks. USA is currently the most protectionist country. I don't know. It might seem the most obvious one, but I don't know if it's the most protectionist one. If you think streamers can be at the top of the Twitch hierarchy, then try playing copyrighted material. Exactly. Later's gonna search for riots. BBL? The fuck's BBL? Thanks for not baiting me just because I'm a Tea Party conservative. Hey, that's alright. But hey, you have to come on sometime and argue your politics. Alright. And on that note, I think we can see about getting this guy in. Alright. Let's go. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hey man, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. I got my Element mic set up. I just plugged it in. Can you tell me if that's all right? If the audio
Nice.
is good.
You're sounding good. Have
Thank
you
you. Thank you.
have you got the stream up? I think I heard an echo though.
Uh,
Oh, hang on. I can't hear anything now, so it sounds good.
sounds good.
Sounding good. Alright, man. How you doing? Can you introduce yourself?
I'm doing all right.
I mean, as alright as you
I
can in America during COVID, so...
I'm actually Canadian myself.
Ah, cool. Alright. How's Canada doing?
Canada's.
Look, I'm sorry. I can't tell the difference
Uh,
between a Canadian and an American accent. I'm sorry. Unless it's a
yeah.
really pronounced Canadian accent, I can't tell the
Honestly,
difference.
honestly, most of the time I can't either. Um. Uh. Canada has its own issues.
Damn. I mean,
I,
if you just tried a lockdown...
Oh, trust me. I live in the Canada on the whole is has a tendency to be on average more liberal than more progressive than America, but I live in Alberta, which is might as well be Texas.
Oh.
Which it's all
Damn.
right in some aspects. I'm a fan of the weather myself, but yeah.
Oh, hey, I went to America end of 2019, start of 2020, and I didn't get a white Christmas, so I was robbed. So hey, there must be some perks to living up in Canada.
Yeah, I get to build a snowman, and I get to make that joke. But
Exactly. Anyway,
um,
I interrupted you. Tell us who you are. Give us your pronouns.
uh, I am Bob Bobinson, a YouTuber. My real name is fuck, I forget.
I mean, we don't have to. You can just we can just stick with Bob. You don't have to give us your
Bob
real
Bobinson.
name.
Bob Bobinson. I'm Bob Bobinson. I'm a YouTuber. I at the moment I'm a male who goes by he him.
Awesome. All right, so I think we
I'm
had.
sorry for having been a bit late. I had a job interview this morning.
Oh, nice. How did it
And
go?
I was kind of I had to throw around my sleeping schedule to make sure I was available for that one. So, but hey, I wasn't that late.
That's all right. We had a good talk. How did the job interview go?
Oh, I think I'll tell if I'm in a Friday afternoon, and it'll be really great. It sounded like it'll be good.
Awesome. That's good to hear. All right, so hit me up. You said that you disagreed on some aspects of anarchy and certainly hierarchy. I think we'll disagree on that, but hit me up. What's your thoughts?
Ultimately, I think that if we were to describe the sort of society that ideal society that we want, it'd end up being exceptions on a couple points, basically the same.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to how that society is specifically described, uh, you described it as. Oh, could you give me a brief summation of define anarchy? So I'm sure since you've been on for 45 minutes, you've already done that. Could you do that quickly?
Sure. So, for myself, I consider myself to be a libertarian, which I define libertarianism very broadly to mean that people do as they please, whatever they like, whatever action they want, save any other action that keeps another person, from doing the same. So, for instance, we have laws in our society like preventing murder that exist as an infringement on our freedom. However, this is not an infringement on our liberty. We need this law because while it is an infringement on your right to murder, murdering somebody is an infringement on their right to murder. So, do as you like, safekeeping another person from doing the same. Anarchy, I feel, is directly related to this because anarchism, again, broadly, I define as the abolition of unjust hierarchy. The libertarianism is a means to an end for anarchism. If anarchism seeks to abolish unjust hierarchies, then it has to do so in a libertarian fashion, one that is democratic and egalitarian.
That makes sense to me. I'd say I'd agree with that, but one specific aspect of your description of anarchy, I consider myself an anarchist. Specific. I, Part of the, and this is honestly, as I said, probably just nitpicking, but phrasing abolish unjust hierarchies, that I don't know how exactly I feel about that, because like I'll just read what I sent you that got you to respond with yeah, I think we can work with this.
Because in our
um
messaging, you said that you didn't believe there was such thing as a just hierarchy, which I found
yeah,
interesting, and I knew would be a talking point.
I agree that I'll start off by just saying that, so then I'll go off of that. I agree that we have very similar views. Where I take issue with the statement is that anarchists are against unjustified hierarchy, which yes, but because there really isn't an ideology out there that is for unjust hierarchy, at least if you go by what they say about themselves. All hierarchies I propose are just, says the Stalinist. I personally contend that there is no just hierarchy, and for all those hierarchies that may be brought up as examples of just hierarchies aren't really hierarchies at all. A common one that's brought up is parent. No, I got a better one. Is think I think who was he? The guy with the beard.
Oh, there's a lot of lefty philosophers with beards. That doesn't narrow it down.
Not dead.
Not dead. Trotsky.
Libertarian lefty, not
Oh, he's almost dead. I don't know.
like he's libertarian lefty. He's in the IWW.
I don't know, man. I'm sorry.
Yet anyways, he said some. I think he gave an example, and I generally like what he said. He gave an example of something that counts as a hierarchy, and that's you see someone about to be hit by a car.
Mm-hmm.
They're standing in the street, just being a dumbass, and they don't notice that they're going to be hit by a car. They push them out of the way.
Right.
Uh, then they said that that is an example of a justified hierarchy. You use your force of will to push them out of the way. And
That seems like a really
I get,
strange example of a hierarchy.
yeah, I think that's a lot of what it's one I've heard a fair bit, a surprising amount, like brought up by the anarchist on anarchist boards.
Oh
And
dear.
it's
Oh my. When the anarchists send their people, they're not sending their best. Jesus, like that's the best example they've got for a just hierarchy.
it's not the best,
Oh
but
my.
it's a most common. But
Oh my god. Okay.
I think
Here's the
a
thing.
slightly more common one, the parent-child one.
So yeah, exactly. Like that's absolutely an example of a just hierarchy. The hierarchy that exists between adult and child. Because there's some rights that we afford adults, we don't afford children. There's some rights that we afford children, we don't afford adults. So that hierarchy needs to exist because there needs to be a difference in children and adults for both parties' benefit. Um, Now that, because to me, like I agree, you said earlier that every group will justify their hierarchy, which is why that's why I think it needs to be intrinsically linked to libertarianism. Any hierarchies that do exist need to be both democratic and egalitarian, which is, I feel, a very easy distinction between, say, far left hierarchies of democratic government, democratic workplace, and not whatnot, and far right hierarchies with fascism and some kind of hierarchy being
Yeah.
made intrinsic to that society's makeup, whatever that is, based on race, gender, immigration status, religious status, party affiliation, which is, I feel this is how you arrive at the conclusion that, oh, communist Russia wasn't actually communist at all. It was a fascist system. There was hierarchies that existed in their society. Those hierarchies were undemocratic and they were unegalitarian. So, like, oh, anarchists of the internet, like, what are you doing? Just define it like that. A just hierarchy is one that's democratic and egalitarian. So, how do you feel about that? Does that kind of change? Does that change your mind on no just hierarchies exist, or what do you think? Is that a good stipulation for a hierarchy?
Think rather I do I do suppose so, because like the parent child thing is it's, it's kind of I'm main issue, I guess, is that using this just saying the specific phrase, anarchists are against unjustified hierarchy. I guess it's an advocacy for a specific change in rhetoric. Like, don't just. I think there can definitely be an issue with saying anarchists are against unjustified hierarchy and then just leaving it at that.
Hmm.
If the rest of it goes unstated, then that can be like an in for some people to try and sneak in some bad stuff.
Well, absolutely. Like that's why primarily if you ask me fundamentally what my ideology is, I would identify as a libertarian. Everything else is second to that. So it all branches off that. I'm a socialist because I'm a libertarian. I'm a communist because I'm a libertarian. I'm an anarchist because I'm a libertarian. All of these aspects of my ideology come from that fundamentally, because I feel that fundamentally the societal makeup has to be one in which people have the maximalized individual freedom to the point where that individual freedom does not impede on another person. Like somebody in the chat threw out earlier that like there needs to be a hierarchy between like doctor and patient, for instance. So there is some socially recognized hierarchies, which is the same deal as the hierarchy between adult and child. Like doctor and patient is one that we would acknowledge. While that's not democratic, it's certainly egalitarianism. We acknowledge that the doctor has spent 8-10 years plus at university to qualify them for that position. So, at least as much as we can, hierarchy should be based on democracy and egalitarianism.
I do definitely think that there's a point to be made with the parent thing, but when it comes to professions, like this is the way it went, like whenever in matters of boot making, refer to the boot maker. It's like, let's say there's a bunch of people, like a community wants a building, and they're going to use that building, and like everyone is going to go in that building. A group of, I don't know, 10 workers could just go and start throwing it together, and everyone would use that building, and then the building would collapse and like 10 children would die or something like that. But they do that that happened because they didn't get an architect into the project, and because they didn't get an architect in the project, those 10 people's right to live was infringed upon. So I wouldn't consider that to be I wouldn't consider that to be a hierarchy, more so just a necessary provision in order to make sure that other people's liberty is not infringed upon. And honestly, that is sort of just splitting hairs.
I don't know.
And
I feel like
it's a similar thing for other things, like the doctor thing, for example.
exactly.
And in a lot of cases, the parenting thing.
Yeah, like a lot of it. Well, not. It depends on the circumstance. A lot of the social contracts, we recognize that there's hierarchies that exist, and democracy is not necessarily a necessary component. We don't need democracy for, like you said, architect or a doctor. It's very much so. Hierarchies are needed in government. Hierarchies are needed in the workplace. Democracy is needed. Oh God, damn it! Tipping my hand. Oh no! Don't clip that. Democracy is needed in governments. Democracy is needed in the workplace, because these are democracy needed in unions. Democracy is needed in NGOs. These are institutions where hierarchy is very prevalent. In particular, unjust hierarchy. And especially because these kind of institutions wield so much social, economic, and political power, that's why democracy and egalitarianism needs to be enshrined. So when we're talking like just some kind of social contract between adult and child, doctor and patient, we can recognize that like democracy is not needed, because in its place we have some aspect of professionalism. At least with the doctor part, maybe just not so much of the parent. But we recognize that professionalism replaces democracy, and it's still egalitarian. The doctor has earned the right to act as a doctor. The patient hasn't.
If they don't go through, if a doctor just says, "Hey, I'm a doctor," they can cause, like, again, like infringing on people's right to live, sort of deal.
Exactly. And there's going to be repercussions for somebody who goes through and breaks that social contract, and pretends that they're qualified in something that they're not. And that's, I guess that would be them breaking the hierarchy, but um, like that would be an example of a just hierarchy.
That makes sense.
So this is getting back to anarchy. If we're talking some kind of far-flung future, which most likely won't come in either of our lifetimes, unfortunately. But
I
anyway,
plan to become a cyborg
oh,
and
oh
live for many centuries.
okay,
I will see it. If it takes a trillion years, I will see it.
okay. So you very much embraced transhumanism.
It's transhumanism all the way.
Okay. I mean, I'm still not sold on it, just because I know that the rich will be getting access to the cybernetic body a whole lot sooner than we will. And I don't know if we really want a class of immortal billionaire oligarchs who live forever through tech. So I don't know. It might just be better not to have it at all.
Them. I'm against them getting a massive robot dick. I want the robot dick, and I want the people to get
True.
massive robot dicks.
So we get rid of them first, so that everyone can be an immortal cyborg.
Or do that as at the same time as making me a cyborg. Or this would be cool. Make I don't know, kidnap Elon Musk's scientists, or hey, unionize Elon Musk's scientists to uh, uh, make a make a Antifa super soldier factory for Revolution Vanguard or something. I don't know.
Like cool. We don't want that knowledge getting out, all right?
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right,
sorry.
like keep the super soldier talk on the DL, all right? Like we don't want to reveal that until it's ready.
Yeah, it's plans are in motion.
Anyway, getting back to anarchism. Like, if we're talking some kind of far-flung anarchist future, where we've abolished the idea of the state, because, in my opinion, the state is an unjust hierarchy. For me, that doesn't mean abolishing government. I think a government can still exist. However, it should be decentralized. I would like to see some kind of, I guess, super union based on geographical location. I think dividing up areas without like a set border that inhibits movement, but more dividing up areas based on the location and the people in that location's needs and the kind of industry in that area, the kind of culture in that area. The America's a really good example because you've got like the Pacific Northwest, the Midwest, New France, like down in Louisiana kind of area. So I could very easily see that country not being divided up into smaller countries, but just more areas based on the kind of common culture that's found within those areas. And there's some kind of democratic body that acts as representation, and then involves a direct democracy with the people, and then that organization comes together with the other organizations of the continent to make collective decisions for the continent collectively, rather than one party being elected over another. And then the organizations of the world come together collectively to make decisions for the world. So this is what I see as anarchy in the long term. No border, no states, no idea of countries. These organizations, like some form of government / union fused together, all democratically run. Any kind of sense of unjust hierarchy is gone. Post-scarcity world, automation, don't have to worry about democracy in the workplace because there is no workplace. But every kind of political decision in this world based on democracy and egalitarianism, and a strong implementation of direct democracy which, I mean, we have the technology to do that now anyway. This is how I see the ideals of anarchism being made real.
Honestly, I think if you do well for yourself to look at big fan of what they're doing down in Chiapas, Mexico, at with the Zaptistas.
Oh, I've heard a little bit, but I haven't looked
Real,
into it.
real cool stuff. Like they're uh, they're about, I'd say, close to anarchy as you can get on a large scale in today's world. They're technically not anarchists, but they're a hair's width away from
Hmm.
being on anarchists. Like it, indigenous issues, feminism, LGBT stuff in rural Mexico, and then
Cool.
and they got economic democracy to a pretty good degree, and it's great stuff. You know, um, uh, the military, like the revolutionary body that you know attacked the Mexican government in '94, establishing the Zapatistas, you know, the Zapatista Revolutionary Army. No
Hmm.
one who serves in that army is allowed to. Uh, that it's an explicit rule that no one who serves in that army is allowed to make rules for anyone.
Ah, a good rule. We were just talking about vanguardism before, um, and I was saying how like pretty against vanguardism, but if that's the way things came about, it like really don't make the revolutionaries the next government. You know, just give them a medal, give them name a public holiday after them, give them a pension, and then they can retire. And then politicians come in. You know, they can go and do speaking tours at universities and fire up young people, but politics, no, like keep them out of it. All right, build them a statue, and like that's good enough. All right.
That's why that tends to be why a lot more people unconditionally like Che Guevara and are a bit more iffy on Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I'm not super
all right.
keen on any previous communist states, but like I gotta admit, like there's still some part of like the 18-year-old Louis Vuitton that like gets a bit of fire in his heart about Che.
Che, he just sort of went around trying to do his best, and then he was, you know,
Yeah.
betrayed by comrades.
I mean,
Che
I at
kind
least believe that Che's goals more righteously minded than the Soviets. Certainly more so than Stalin.
of, honestly, if Stalin, if there was nothing else about Stalin changed, he was born, he suddenly became like a middle management type in Germany. He would have been one of the absolute worst Nazis. He, they're
True.
megalomaniac of
Oh,
the
100%. I
purest
mean, like
purest
I'm sure
kind.
we can both agree Stalin bad.
Yes, yes. Of course, that always. Anytime I say that, I so many comments.
Oh yeah, and this is like again, this is why tankies aren't leftists because they will defend unjust hierarchy. They'll defend authoritarianism. They're
And
anti-libertarian. They're just fascists. They want an unjust hierarchy. If we're looking at the Soviet Union, then that unjust hierarchy comes in the form of political affiliation. You say the wrong thing to your colleague, you don't know if they're a party member, go on a few days later. That doesn't
and
sound just to me.
I think the best way to demonstrate that the that tankies aren't leftists is because ask them what think about China, a nation that is in no way, shape, or form leftist. Like economically, they are capitalist,
Oh, absolutely.
are right wing, they are reactionary, and that's even leaving alone and not talking about the genocide they're doing, genocides and
Hmm.
imperialism they're doing. The stuff that they kind of, sort of, but not really deny. When it comes to stuff that they don't deny, like the economic stuff, like all the billionaires and God, so many billionaires that have such a large amount of power.
I think China
Well,
has. Do they have the most billionaires in the world at this point? They either have the
it's
most or
it's
they're like getting very close to taking the lead. I know that
the most
they have the fastest
funniest
growing billionaire population. I don't know if that means they have the
funniest
most.
thing funniest thing to see when you'll get a DPRK Stan account praising China for that. It's like it's very strange.
I mean, I
And
saw a
then again,
screenshot.
you also get people who do stand the DPRK and like, "Ah, you're not helping. Please,
Oh,
please go.
100%. Like, hey, what do you mean? It's in the name. They called it the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It's democracy is in the name. Republic's in the name. What are you talking about? That can't be a totalitarian government. It can't be a hereditary monarchy.
Yeah, like just where's that off with the king's head energy I
Mm.
like so much.
I mean, it's hilarious when people call the Nazis socialist. It's like, okay, well, by that logic, then North Korea is a democracy.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
do think for like
when you
you're
have to put
talking
the
like
ideology in, when you have to put it like the Telstra principle, when you have to put it in the name, then you know it's a lie.
yeah. Okay, so I got one more thing that's back to the parent thing again. I
All
got
right,
one more thing to say.
hit me up.
Um, the, throughout our history, most of the time, this structure of couple parents to a child hasn't been all that common. It's been throughout most of our history, including in like and especially like the Middle Ages, which we have a lot of records for.
True.
Uh, Communal. The phrase goes, "It takes a village to raise a child," and the reason they say that is it's because it's true. This atomized version of child rearing that has sort of been enforced upon us post industrial revolution isn't the best. And of course, if a parent wants to give specific attention to their child, that's all and good. But I would advocate for a return to communal. This is a weird set of words, but communal child rearing. Bring, in a sense, that would be make raising children more responsibility to the community, and that would be, I guess, that's of a spread it out more. The whole egalitarian thing. Like,
Oh
this
no,
of a higher, I suppose. Like, I would advocate for that.
I agree 100%. It's really weird. This like the whole nuclear family structure is just a really weird concept. And if I can, like, it might sound hyper reductive, but I don't know. I kind of feel like primarily it was maybe not conceived of, but it was strongly encouraged, really, just to give men power. There's a video on my YouTube channel. I think it's the first one I put up. I think it was in the first video I put up when I talked about men and religion. I talked about the nuclear family and how it's really just a structure to give men power over women. Because when you're in a nuclear family, you're like the father is the only man that's present. There's no other men to compete with. in a more communal setting, there's other men to compete with. It's not like one man has dominance. So that's the problem I have with the nuclear family. The problem with communal raising of children is that we've really set up our society, even other cultures where that's encouraged. It's still very, I suppose, like there's the Western influence, I guess. It's still very much like you need to have two parents in a house. We don't have like a much more communal living setting. Like houses are very restricted to like one family. It's not like we have much larger open neighborhoods where we have maybe more space, but the buildings themselves are larger, so that like a family and their whole extended family can all live in the same building together. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I would like to see, and not just extended family, but also like friends, all sorts of relations that maybe not related by blood. And this is really, if we're being honest, just a white people thing. Like if you look at how every other culture raises children, it's in a much more communal way. Like Indigenous Australians, Indigenous Americans, Middle Eastern families, African families, Mediterranean families. There's a much greater emphasis on the involvement of extended family, cousins, aunts and uncles, grandparents. Like everyone in the community has a much stronger emphasis on raising children. It's really frustrating that it's just a white people thing, because ultimately children miss out, and then on the other end, we treat our older generations like shit as well.
It's just, yeah, drop off grandma at the old folks' home and never talk to her again.
Exactly. Like if we had the means to support
There's
communal living, then that would solve that problem. The reason that like the main reason that people don't keep their grandparents in their home is that it's not feasible. The majority of working class people can't afford to have a grandparent live full time in their home, because there's a higher likelihood of that grandparent having additional health concerns, additional health requirements. So if we could streamline that process, make it like this will require, like we're talking decades, if not centuries, of changing to our social structures. But if we could change,
of course, I will personally see through.
of course. But if
Continue.
like I would like to see a shift in how we live communally, less restrictive neighborhoods, make it like rather than it being so boxed into separate houses, create much more open space, but then build larger buildings in place of those houses so they can house more people in the one building, and just make it more feasible to travel between different places. Like if I ever have kids, which I'm not planning to at the moment, we'll see how we go with climate change. I want to involve as much of my, not only extended family, but like friends, like my friends as well, like people that I know, like former supervisors, like ex-bosses who I'm friends with, like those kind of people that I look up to. I'd love to, for my kids to spend time with them, like to, go over and like sleep over with them and spend a few days with them, just to get as much of that like diverse experience of socialization as possible. Get that diversity in so that growing up they're not boxed into the mindset of two people. Get as much influence as possible.
Yeah. We really sort of just need to bring back common space, because like oftentimes, because I think the word is, my family's Protestant. I think, and thus often throughout my childhood, brought me along to church, and they did these things called potlucks, and the entire community would get together, give food, sing merry songs, and then then they go home, and then and you'd bring home enough food to feed feed yourself for a week because no one ate Janus's casserole. So that's what you're gonna eat because you're the poor kid for like the next week. Personal experience here. Uh,
But you see, that's a
I
really
don't
good
know.
example. Like, I would prefer not to do it under the auspice of religion, but the community that religion creates is a really good example. That is a community of people coming together, like have shared values, like really, like people. They're not there for the religion. They're there for the community. They're there for the socialization. They're there for the good, happy feelings you get from meeting and talking to people. And people still do that without the auspice of religion. But that's exactly the kind of um, sense of community that needs to be and prioritized, and just cultivated so that that can be the norm. So that you can have people come together in a much more communal sense.
Yeah. Uh, just things like that. Like, just what would be alternative? Because I'm not opposed to religion myself. What are like for people who don't want to involve themselves with religion? What are like I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking. I don't know why, but I'm thinking swimming pool.
I mean, there's all sorts, like whatever your interests are. I mean, like people get together for all sorts of things, like bowling,
Okay,
sports,
but
like
you need group.
sports club is a really good example. People, will like follow football teams and get together, just by their shared adoration for not only the game but the team itself. Um,
We're a good
Now,
example.
like I feel like sports
Not
teams is a pretty good example of those people coming together just by their shared interest. Like you could even like you could even say like Alcoholics Anonymous is an example of that. It's a community of people that come together and support one another, rely on one another, and get that emotional satisfaction from interacting with one another. So this idea that like I know some people say that we need religion to create this sense of community. Like I disagree very strongly with that. We can already see examples of communities that have nothing to do with religion.
yeah. People should be able to opt into that sort of thing again. But there's I got a good example here. At my local hobby shop, which is like at the place where they sell the die and the role playing games. Every for 2 days every week, there would be a period of 12 hours where you could just go into the downstairs room, sit down at a table, and start join into a role playing game where there's like 12 different tables, each with like 12 with 5 to 12 people, yeah, doing a thing, and it was just like a place where you could walk in and start socializing with people and playing. I don't know. You could like pretend you're Spider-Man trying to kill Ultron.
There you go. There's
There's a
all sorts of
goblin.
meetups
There's a
like that.
goblin in there.
Like there's all sorts of communities that people get involved in. Like video games is a huge one. Trading cards. Like actually trading card games. People go to these meetups. Like there's I haven't watched the Pokemon VGC in years, but like there's an example. People come together and compete. Like yeah, community is I think no problem.
Someone in my chat because I'm also streaming this simultaneously. Someone said "bruh," and that their name's JoJo, and that's the only comment. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Jojo, thanks for your input.
It's bruh.
All right.
I
Do we have any
can't say
I don't know, do we have any final memes? Any other thoughts about anarchism and hierarchy?
it. Anarchy is good.
Or
Um,
maybe let me run something by you. Um, if we're taking these words to mean the definitions that we've discussed, how come anarcho-capitalism, does anarcho-capitalism conform to the idea of the abolition of unjust hierarchies?
no, not even a little bit. And let me tell you why. There is a definition of anarchy. It's where no state, and like I don't. That's one of the worst ones. But I suppose if yeah, because like I made a political. My favorite political model is a three-dimensional one where it's a cube instead of the political compass. It's the political cube.
Oh, okay,
So,
interesting.
and I made a physical version out of wire model where at one top corner is Adolf Hitler, and then and, at another corner is like Trotsky, and then at a bottom corner is Santa Claus, otherwise known as Peter Parkin. Uh, and then various levels there, depending on how far they are up or down or left or right. You know what a cube is. You know,
Hmm.
three axes are economics, reactionary versus progressive, and then state. Three dimensions on a cube, three dimensions politically. That I think that is the best model. Anyways, there's a definition of anarchy that says just no state at the bottom of the cube. Yes, if you want to call yourself an anarcho-capitalist, if you can't have no state. But see, the thing is, camps don't not want a state. Not only do they not want to get rid of hierarchies, they still want a state. When you ask, they want there to be police. They want there to be a. They want McDonald's feudalism,
I
and
mean,
that's still a the
yeah.
difference between a feudalist and a ANCAP is hey is who they want is instead of the king of France, it's the CEO of McDonald's.
I mean, we can go even simpler than that. Like, capitalism is an unjust hierarchy. You don't vote on your boss. You don't vote on your supervisors. You're not voting in the business decisions. And we're talking about a society that enshrines that unjust hierarchy.
Oh yeah, and a good example to bring up is sorry, I get sidetracked often, but some people have you heard of Liberty Hangout? They
I'm
call themselves libertarians. They
yes.
call themselves ANCAPs, but
I think
they
they
don't.
I think they have walked back the libertarian aspect of their identity, though. But
I
they haven't
haven't.
called themselves authoritarian. But like, I think they've said like something along the lines of, "We are not libertarian. We're just pro-Trump." I think there was something. I don't know. Maybe I feel like I remember seeing
I
something like
haven't
that.
kept up with them in a year, but they're examples of people who have called themselves libertarians who, while calling themselves libertarians, said, "You know what? Catholic monarchy, I'm down." Uh, that's like
I mean, like, is there a more demonstrable
quiet
example of an
part
unjust
out loud.
hierarchy than a monarchy?
You said the quiet part out loud right there.
Exactly. I mean, Liberty Hangout's not good at saying the quiet part quietly.
Yeah, especially, especially recently.
Oh no, especially since Trump lost.
I was gonna say something. Yeah, a good example to bring up is the uh, have you heard of you know how Britain did colonialism? I'm sure. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you're aware of that.
I've heard stories.
Heard rumors, unconfirmed. Anyways, there was this com- they eventually came to control India. A lot of horrible things. And undoubtedly, there's something to be said about all empires. Motivations were the same as we now have corporations and whatnot. It's like greed and all that stuff. But even more literal degree, we have what came before explicit hardline government control in India. That state control, controlled by the emperor. It used to be just company acquiring assets, and for the longest time, like half of India was, and Bengal, Pakistan, all that stuff. Complicated situation. They explicitly controlled by a company. Was entirely controlled by a company. Did horrific things like tens of millions dead in a year
Oh yeah.
in the 1700s.
If you ever want to trigger
That's
an English,
impressive.
if you ever want to trigger an English person, just mention India.
They
Yeah. I mean,
that's the inevitable result of capitalism. If you get everything else away, just leave market forces, they're gonna coalesce into larger entities. Like monopolies are an inevitable result of capitalism, and you just snap your fingers, establish anarcho-capitalism, and then close your eyes for a couple hundred years, and then open your eyes. That's what you're gonna see.
oh yeah.
It's
I,
gonna
I was talking earlier before you came on, like, I mean, like, if we did just snap our fingers and it's Ancapistan, what's the top of the line of Amazon armored vehicles driving up, a bunch of Amazon goons jumping out of those vehicles with guns, and they point their guns at you and say, okay, you now work for Amazon, and if you disagree, we'll shoot you. And the ANCAP would say, like, all the people get together and get their guns and fight back. And it's like, okay, well, where did they get the guns? Amazon's bought all the gun manufacturing factories, so you can only get guns from Amazon, and they're not going to sell guns to people that are going to fight a revolution against them. So even if you allow, like, okay, all the ANCAPs have the guns already, like, okay, sure, where do you get the bullets? You're going to use up those bullets shooting at Amazon thugs. But Amazon owns all the bullet factories. You can only buy bullets from Amazon. Once you run out of bullets, what then? Where do you buy medicine? How do you
just
patch your people up? Amazon's bought all the
market.
hospitals. Like this is it's such a fantasy.
That's just your fault, anyways. You just failed in the market. You weren't able to compete. Amazon rightfully acquired you, and then by your
True.
military defeat you in order to save the life of your children. You sign yourself off into slavery, which is something a lot of ANCAPs are very explicitly okay with. And that's just fair.
True.
You
By
fair
ANCAP logic,
competition.
you couldn't compete in the
You lost.
marketplace.
Slave now. That's yeah, tough stuff. Freedom.
What a horrible concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a good
Anyways,
idea.
that's that's I I've said what I've said. If
All right.
unless you got any other things to say, or if anyone else in either my chat or yours has any questions for me,
I don't know. My chat has
any
been like arguing amongst themselves. I need to go give them a smack after I'm done here. But I'll shout out your channel in the chat, so everyone check out Bob's YouTube channel. There's a link in the chat now. Go chuck him a sub.
Robinson
Bob Bobinson, that's it.
got a picture of two pigs sleeping together as my icon, and it's been that way since 2015 when I was uploading silent Roblox videos.
Hey, we've all got to start somewhere, okay?
Yeah. Oh, to surprised, I my first subscriber right at soon as I did that. I was like, I had the one person, McKinley Woods, subscribe to me for like 6 years now. I
Cool.
don't know why. I think it was because I responded to their comment on a Sky Does Minecraft video, and I said good comment, and then they subscribed to me. Haven't unsubscribed yet.
Hey, you gotta take support where you can get it.
But yeah, anyways, I'll also link to uh I'll also link to your channel. Go subscribe to Louis Vuitton.
That's it.
Someone just said hello, Bob. Manny now. Hey, you, Manny, go subscribe to Louis Vuitton.
All right.
Go do it.
Thanks very much for
Anyway,
coming on. Really appreciate it. All right.
thanks for letting me come on.
No problem. I love you, buddy. Take it easy. All right. That was fun. It was a good talk. See, look at that. Look at that. Two lefties came together, had a discussion about lefty ideals, and look at that. We could get through the conversation without shouting at each other. Without getting we got through the conversation without saying that another person had to go to the wall. Look at that. There's hope. There is hope for leftist cooperation yet. Good time. Alright, I can stream a bit longer. I have stuff to do, but I'll go a little bit longer. But first, like, look, okay, like, Jesus fucking Christ, like, chat, my god, you guys are going nuts during that talk. Someone was defending monarchy, we had an infrared stand in the chat, Anarcho Taco took issue with my anti-natalism take. Like, oh my goodness. Alright, I'm gonna go to the toilet, and then I'm gonna come back, and we'll see if we can't straighten this chat out. So don't kill each other while I'm gone. Alright, where are we at? Oh, you're anti-natalist. Alright, cool. I mean, my anti-natal status is very much dependent on how things work out in the next 10 to 15 years. As it stands now, unless we take meaningful steps to address climate change, then I would consider it immoral to have children. Because, I mean, it's immoral to bring them into that kind of hell world that, in a few decades, is going to be. I mean, we're already seeing the effects of climate change now, and they're only going to get worse over the next few decades. And probably by the end of my life, we may get to the point where the world has become unlivable. And I think it's immoral to bring children into that kind of world, where they would inherit that kind of world. Now, look, I would love to have kids, so I'm very willing to flip the script on that belief, but that depends on how things work out next 5 to 10 years. If we don't take meaningful steps, then I don't know. I'll perhaps see about some alternative means. But if in the next 5 to 10 years we do take steps to address climate change in a meaningful way, or at least reduce the impact, then yeah, I will be at least natal neutral. I'm anti-natalist due to climate change and rampant inequality exacerbating Marxist-defined alienation. Yeah, fair enough, exactly. The inequalities, not so much a factor for me personally. I'm. It sounds weird to say, but I honestly think that's probably easier to address than climate change. Certainly, climate change is a much greater threat. It sounds so strange to say. Climate change is a greater threat than inequality, but yeah. What else was going on? Like I was keeping half an eye on the chat, and it seemed like everybody was just arguing with each other, talking about. That's right. The Sex Pistols came up in China. ISIS. Oh dear. And there was, that's right. What's his face? XYZ Adam. It looks like he's a infrared stan. Cringe. Oof. Fucking infrared. I was going to say if you guys want to laugh, but then again, it's not funny. But a while back, I don't know if anyone knows infrared. He's a Spinal Tap. Really? Oh, okay. Well, I was looking at XYZ because he posted the infrared gorilla in the sun, which is for whatever reason, infrared's community does that. That's like their calling card. Apparently, they call each other monkeys or gorillas. For those of you that don't know, infrared is just an insane antisocial tanky. But I actually called into his chat a while back because I wanted to debate him on fascism. Because, of course, if we look at fascism as a society that enshrines unjust hierarchy and anti-democratic and whatnot, centralized government, well, then Soviet Russia and China would meet that definition. And he wasn't very happy with that definition. So he ran me around in circles for about an hour and 20 minutes, spent the whole time obfuscating definitions and having contradictory points of view, like, we can't define words, but objective truth is real. Okay. And what's the other thing? Gaslighted me the whole time, just lied about everything that I said. Like, I would say something, I'd say one thing, and then the next sentence, he would say I didn't say something. Or I didn't say that thing. So gaslighted me the whole time. The monkey meme maps too easily on Jordan Peterson rejects modernity bullshit. It's not a good look. Yeah, like, I feel like there's some people that do the return to monkey thing. I don't know, like, I feel like that's a meme, like, in a lot of communities. I don't think, well, it depends, like, I don't know, something like Infrared's community might be doing it unironically. Some people are unironically anarcho-primitivists, which is just, like, no thanks. I like not dying from preventable disease. But yeah. He uploaded the talk onto YouTube, which, yeah, he didn't like I like no, he didn't look good, but I didn't look good either. Like no one can look good in a debate with infrared. I wasn't streaming on my channel. I just called in. I was actually making guacamole at the time. I wasn't doing anything to do with streaming. But yeah, the conversation finished up with me asking him, like, he made the mistake. He answered a yes/no question with yes or no. I asked him point blank, "Do you believe in the Uyghur genocide?" And he said no. Silly boy. Silly boy. Haven't you learned anything from other tankies? You don't answer a yes or no question with yes or no. Just run circles around the person asking the question. Do everything you can. Throw everything you can in their way to avoid answering the question. Silly boy. This idea of reject modernity, though, modernity's been around for centuries at this point. So what, we're going back to pre-industrial era? No thanks. Again, I like not dying from preventable disease. I like that a lot of goods are much more easily produced. Guacamole or Sue, do you rent for life? Yeah, alright. Hey, I wasn't having it on toast at least. I was making nachos. But no, well, I don't know. It depends. If I graduate and get a good job, or not if, when I graduate, and if I get a good job, then I suppose I could see about getting a house then. But don't worry, I'm not going to buy houses and rent them out. Cringe. Alright. I have stuff I need to get done. I need to get going. Put some better clothes on. But hey, again, like this is exactly what I was talking about earlier today. I love it when there's this much diversity in the chat. I love when there's this much arguments going on in the chat. This is the kind of thing that I thrive on. This is why I stream, for this experience. This going back and forward with the chat. It's an advantage of being a smaller streamer is that when you only have a few people in the chat, you get to talk to everyone. And that's fun. So hey, if you like the chat, it would mean a lot. If you would go over and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord through the link down below. And hey, ring the bell for notifications. There's also a link to Streamlabs. Give me 2 seconds to bring up the YouTube link. Oh, who's live now? Can we... That's alright. Like, I can't be bothered with a raid. What are we talking about? Electricians make mad bank in Australia. As they rightly should. No problem, Anarcho Taco. Alright, everyone. I love you all very much. Have a good day.